So last night was the Game Awards for 2023. It has finally concluded. We have seen the winners, we've seen the Game of the Year, we've seen the new trailers, and we've watched Jeff Keighley's most recent attempt to give us an interesting and compelling and fun show that in theory is supposed to be celebrating the industry and the developers of our favorite games, but obviously still comes off a little long-winded and kind of messy. Of course, as every year, there is a bevy of mixed opinions out there when it comes to if the show was good or not, and the things people liked and people didn't like about it. And this year is no different. There's a lot of polarized people out there who are dissecting the runtime, the amount of celebrities, the winners being shooed off of the stage without enough time to give a proper acceptance speech, all of the advertisements, the quality of the trailers, just Jeff Keighley's approach in general. There are a lot of things to criticize, and this year is no different, and people are not keeping quiet about it. Now, the one point I want to make before I jump into the Nintendo side of this conversation, which is clearly the focus of this video, is I have to say, as far as my general takeaway from the show, I'm in a kind of strange place about it, because I have been extremely critical and even frustrated and in some ways mad, as silly as that may sound, some ways mad and frustrated the past few years with the show and with Jeff Keighley specifically, because I haven't really liked the direction that it's been going and the approach and just a variety of things that I've talked about on the channel, I think the past 2 or so years. So really it was the last 2 years before this year, right? So 2021 and 2022. The approach and the build-up to the Game Awards, the way the website with the voting is crafted, and just a lot of different elements of the show have not been good to me, and I've been vocal in critiquing them, and like I said, basically upset. This year, it's weird because the show was not great, and there are a lot of things to be upset about and to criticize as well, just as much as any given year, absolutely. However, I think that my actual anger about it has just kind of left my body. It has left my person because the last 2 years I've vented about it in such a way and been so vocal about my critiques and my frustrations that I feel like I've just kind of cleansed myself of that emotion when it comes to the Game Awards. I've long since accepted what they were going to be. My general hype for the idea of the Game Awards is well behind me. I don't ever expect a whole lot out of any show. And so going into this year, I wasn't really hyped for the show. I mean, I was looking forward to it, but I wasn't hyped. And so because of that, last night's show, again, wasn't great. It was just as mediocre as prior shows. But I also wouldn't even necessarily call it a train wreck either. There are controversies coming out of it that are frustrating, but the actual show, the experience of watching it, it wasn't good. It wasn't the train wreck, but it was also kind of just exactly what I expected. So my general takeaway is it wasn't that good and the show still needs a ton of work, but I'm just beyond being actually upset about it and venting about it. I've gotten that out of my system the last 2 years. I'm good. We know what the show is. It's a mess, and we just have to kind of accept it, and that's my personal takeaway. But of course, what we're actually here to talk about is Nintendo, because I mostly talk about Nintendo on this channel. They're my favorite company. You guys know who follow and watch my videos regularly. And my last video, made just the day before the Game Awards, so 2 days ago, I actually discussed the possibility of if Nintendo was maybe sitting on some kind of huge surprise or expectation for the show that we could maybe look forward to, because every once in a while Nintendo does show up with some kind of a reveal. Sometimes they're smaller tier and not game-changing, like a Smash Bros. DLC character or the Bayonetta spin-off game. Every once in a while, they have a huge reveal, which, in my opinion, the biggest thing they've ever revealed at the show would be Bayonetta 3, and then they did also confirm the actual Breath of the Wild DLC as well at the Game Awards one year. So those two instances, to me, are the only times we've seen them do something really significant and massive. Outside of that, it's usually something small, or it's nothing at all. And last night, as I predicted and discussed in my video 2 days ago, they had literally 0 things to show us. The main reason I thought it would be important and kind of fun to talk about this part of the show, because there's so much more than just Nintendo being present or not present at the show. And again, they were present, and Tears of the Kingdom did win Best Action Adventure Game, and Eiji Aonuma got to go up and give his 25-second speech about it. And so that's great. That's my game of the year, not including Metroid Prime Remastered, and I was hoping it was going to squeeze out a win, but it didn't, and that's okay because I didn't expect it. And so Nintendo was there, Doug Bowser was there, Aonuma was there, but they weren't there with new announcements or new games. And so the reason I think it's kind of fun and interesting to talk about this exact aspect of the show is because, one, it gives us a little bit of a glimpse into some of their future plans, and because, two, a lot of people, a lot of folks online, a lot of folks on YouTube tried to spin this idea to a lot of people that we should expect something, even something as big as a Switch 2 or a hardware reveal. And that to me is crazy, mostly from the folks who really went in hard trying to make people believe something that there was no reason to believe in it. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't a possibility of a big game reveal or even a Switch 2 reveal. I touched on the small percentage of my brain that thought maybe they were going to surprise us in my last video. So I'm not saying that it was impossible that they would do these things, but how people on Twitter and on the internet and on YouTube go about translating that info or trying to say that there are rumors and leaks out there about these things when there almost never truly is, that kind of thing becomes very frustrating to me, and it becomes more frustrating to a lot of you guys who see that stuff and believe it and buy into it and get your expectations up only to get them dashed once you see that there was never any validity to them and Nintendo never had anything to show at the show. So as far as the main takeaway, like I said, them not showing anything last night does give us some sort of picture or glimpse into what they might be doing in the future. The main thing is, obviously, there's nothing left for this year, so I doubt that there's any last-minute surprise next-gen console reveal or game reveal happening in 2023. If they were going to do it, I feel like the Game Awards would have been the time, even though we know that Nintendo notoriously doesn't really care all that much about the Game Awards. So we know that there's nothing this year, so 2023 is donezo. 2024 is obviously right in front of us. It is a couple of weeks away, and a lot of us have been expecting things like the Switch 2 or Metroid Prime 4, kind of the two biggest mystery products from Nintendo that we're all dying for. And you guys know me, Metroid Prime 4 is the thing keeping me going every day, when it comes to the hobby of gaming, I should say. Every morning I wake up and I'm like, Metroid Prime 4 is being made, and I can't wait to see it and play it. That is the thing that keeps me going in that respect. So 2024, we're expecting some big things. The few things we know about from Nintendo, they're just remakes of old Mario games, and then there's a new Mario Universe game with Princess Peach, which will probably be a fine, good game, but it's not going to be a revolutionary system seller type of game. And that's it. So what else are they really planning for the year? And since they didn't decide to drop any hints last night at the Game Awards, I feel like it's pretty safe to assume, and again, this is a prediction. I'm not here to just peddle fake leaks and rumors to you guys. My prediction is that in January or February, I think as early as January or February, we will probably start getting huge news from Nintendo. Whether it's a full direct, whether it's official console reveal, whether it's a Metroid Prime 4 trailer blowout, anything like that, or even something different, like a new Mario Kart, or whatever they're going to do in 2024. Without them doing anything last night, I think in the first handful of months in 2024, they're going to really blow the doors open on something pretty huge. If you guys remember, there was a time where the internet thought that January Nintendo Direct was like the thing that happens every year. And that finally went away, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago. But there was a good stretch for, I think, a lot of the Switch era, the first 4 or 5 years or so of the Switch, where everyone was like, oh, January Direct, it's going to happen. Every January they give us something huge. And I pushed back on that a lot during those years because they certainly have done a couple of January Nintendo Directs, and a few of them have been really huge, full directs with a couple of huge, exciting announcements. Absolutely, it has happened. But there was this period where there was this narrative that every January Nintendo does that, and that just simply wasn't the case. Go back and look at your history. That's just not true. But I think this could be a year where maybe they're finally ready to do another significant January Nintendo Direct, or, like I said, even a significant January info dump or presentation. I wouldn't put it past Nintendo. If 2024 is the year of the Switch 2, and if it makes sense timing-wise from the time that they want to reveal it to the time that they want to release it, I think it's not impossible that they actually give us some kind of a presentation or an actual reveal of the Switch 2, and that could be in the form of a 15 to 30 minute Nintendo Direct type reveal. It might not be branded as a Direct, but they could release a 15 to 30 minute pre-recorded video that is literally about showcasing and revealing the Switch 2 and talking about some games and letting us know by the time it's over that we're going to be revealing more soon, and maybe they have a release date for it, maybe they don't, maybe they can confirm the year. It's probably would just be a Nintendo Direct, but I don't know. The way they would reveal new hardware, I think it's possible that they do something like that. And I do think that January is a month that is in my brain on the table for them to do something huge like that. So I just want to remind you that's not so much of a hard prediction for me as it is just me discussing options and things that I see as available on the table for Nintendo to choose to do in the wake of them not showing anything new at the Game Awards last night. I mean, they didn't even have a trailer for like something small, People might push back on this. I found that Bayonetta spin-off game that came out last year to be what I would call a quote-unquote smaller game. And maybe it was amazing and you loved it. I'm not talking about the quality. It wasn't interesting to me, even as a Bayonetta fan. But that's the kind of thing where if they had any game like that to reveal, last night could have been the time to do it. In fact, I would say if Paper Mario Remake or even Princess Peach weren't games we already knew about from earlier in the year, that would have been the kind of reveal that I could have seen them choosing to show at the Game Awards last night, right? So that's the kind of thing I'm a little surprised they didn't have. They literally went in with nothing to show, but it is what it is. And so in the wake of them having nothing, these things, like a January or a February huge Nintendo Direct, information about a Switch 2 or Metroid Prime 4, or another huge Nintendo IP game that we don't know about, like a new 3D Mario or a new Donkey Kong or something like that. Those are the things that I now think are probably going to happen in Q1 of 2024, and like I said already several times, even as early as January or February. And I think the last point to kind of wrap this conversation up is it's just worth being reminded, due to the fact that they weren't at the show last night, that Nintendo doesn't really care about the Game Awards, and they don't have to. Now, it would be nice if they did. I'm not saying that I prefer that. I mean, the whole industry gets together. They usually have some folks present, like Doug Bowser, and it used to be Reggie back in the day. It would be nice if they participated a little closer, but it's a Western event that features so many non-Nintendo things happening, and Nintendo, for better or worse, is a little maybe too overprotective of their own brand and image and the things that they choose to include themselves in. So I feel like Reggie understood the value a little bit more than the current regime at Nintendo, both America and Japan. Reggie understood, being the president of Nintendo of America, the value of being included in the conversation of what the Game Awards was several years ago. With Reggie gone and leadership changes of Nintendo of Japan and Doug Bowser just not really being a public factor, he doesn't show up in front of people's eyes the way Reggie used to. I feel like they just are like, yep, this isn't for us. We don't need it. Nintendo Directs are fine. And I agree with them in that sense. And that's just what they do. And so they don't need to worry about the audience watching the Game Awards, and they don't want their games confused with other games or whatever. I'm just kind of guessing, but that's just what it feels like. And I would bet that a lot of you guys probably agree with that. And so I would like them to be more involved, but they're not. I understand why. Nintendo Directs are fine. We get 2, 3, 4 every year anyway. And we get the information as Nintendo fans that we want through that mode. And I think that that's fine. So I think that we need to just realize, until Nintendo gives us a reason to believe otherwise, that they're just not interested in being a part of the Game Awards. So when next year the Game Awards comes around, and I think he said December 12th of 2024, unless we get confirmation that they're going to be there with something ahead of time, I would not expect to see Nintendo give us anything huge at that show. Right now, mark your calendars. Now, you're hearing me say it. You saw last night's show. You have 1 full year to prepare yourself, starting now, to not see a big Nintendo announcement on December 12th of 2024. It's just not going to happen. They're going to rely on their own messaging and their own Nintendo Directs. That's the way I see it. So this is my breakdown. This is what I feel with the Game Awards last night and Nintendo not being present. Share your thoughts below, and that's about it.